Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and I'm Dan Cerrucci, and we're here again. And I'm here with Paul Kanitra, New Jersey State Assemblyman from the 10th Legislative District of New Jersey, which is basically Ocean County at the Jersey Shore. And Paul, how are you tonight?
I'm great. Hey, don't forget Southern Monmouth County too. They'll get mad at me, Dan. I got five towns
Okay.
in Southern
Ocean,
Monmouth as well. You know, very back and forth over the Manasquan Inlet down here.
oh, believe me, I've been through this. I've been through. I think you might have been there when it happened. When I was in Ocean County, but I thought I was in Monmouth County.
Oh,
I
yeah,
said, I'm
that's
so
bad.
glad to be here in Ocean in Monmouth County. And then they told me, oh no, you're in Ocean County. And then someone said to me, well, Dan, you're actually right on the border. And I
Okay,
was like,
okay.
oh my God, here we go again, right?
Look, I get north of the Driscoll Bridge, and I have a hard time knowing where I'm at.
New Jersey has 21 counties and lots and lots and lots. And by the way, some of the most beautiful counties, as you can imagine, lie along the New Jersey shore.
Oh, yeah.
And we have lots and lots, and might I say, way too many towns and cities and villages and townships and boroughs and
That's fighting words. That's fighting words in New Jersey.
oh, but come on, Paul. I mean,
Look,
it boggles the mind.
let's start off the show then with something super controversial, okay? Because look, I'm a fiscal conservative. I definitely believe that consolidation and shared services makes sense, but try telling that to Point Pleasant Beach and Point Pleasant Borough, right? Or try telling that to a lot of these towns that have their identities wrapped up in their rivalries and in their sports teams and in their
Yep.
borders. You can definitely share a street sweeper between some of these towns and save money, but man, consolidation is a dirty word in a lot of my little small towns, and I get it. They have 500 plus different identities in New Jersey, right?
It's ridiculous. And you were the mayor of Point Pleasant Beach.
Yeah.
That was your first public office that you were elected to. And I know you got a great kick out of that. You really,
I loved it.
you really. Now let me ask you, how did your interest? I might have asked you this before, but it's always a fascinating. How did your interest in politics begin?
Ever since I was in college, I kind of got the bug. I worked for Texas Students for Bush back in the day, knocking on doors
Yeah,
before the election in 98 or 99, whenever that was.
yeah,
And I graduated. I interned for Congressman Chris Smith when I was in college. I
yes,
graduated. I worked for Congressman Mike Ferguson as his field director, and he was great. He was a really preppy legislator from up North Jersey in like Warren County, and
right.
I was straight out of Jersey Shore. And I would drive up to his house in my Chevy Camaro with my low-profile tires and big rims, and I'd pick up the preppy congressman, and we'd drive around in the Camaro. And sometimes I even had a switch I could flip on and off that would turn purple neon on. He called it the disco sled. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Paul,
there you go.
how did you wind up going from Point Pleasant at the Jersey Shore to Texas Christian University, which is where you went? How did that happen?
Look, I've always been a big fan of trying to broaden my horizons. It's one of the reasons that I've traveled so much. As you know, I'm a member of the Travelers Century Club. I've been to 100 different countries and territories around the globe, and it started when I was real young. We didn't travel a lot growing up, and Texas seemed like a cool place that I wanted to go out and see the wild, wild west, and it seemed as different from New Jersey as could be. And I wanted to immerse myself in something different. And I went out there and I loved it. I bleed TCU purple, the Horned Frogs. They played in the national championship game in football a
Right.
couple of years ago. We don't talk about that because they got absolutely destroyed by the Georgia Bulldogs. but it got me out there. I loved the people. I loved how conservative it was. And I'll tell you, Texas is a cautionary tale, much like Georgia. Everybody from California has been fleeing their failed policies out there, moving into Texas, gentrifying the state, taking away its Western roots and eroding its conservative values. And unfortunately, Texas isn't as deep red as it used to be.
No, no. I call Texas. Well, actually, I'm an honorary Texan. I was made an honorary Texan by Governor Perry and the state legislature of the state of Texas. I'm going to have to get up from my chair because I want to show you something.
I want this whole story. I think everybody wants this whole story. Dan's gone now, so technically I'm running the entire show. Oh, and he's back.
This is the Lone Star flag of Texas. It's all folded up and preserved. But this flag was flown over the Texas State House in my honor on the day that I was named an honorary Texan for life. Okay.
Wow. Now, how were you named an honorary Texan? That sounds like a great story.
I have my papers to prove it too. I have my papers. I was working for the Philadelphia Bar Association, and our sister doing their public relations and communications, and our sister bar. I'm going to make a very long story short. Our sister bar was the Houston bar, because Houston and Philly were about the same size. And the two bar associations, our leaders, commiserated and visited with one another regularly. And the Houston, I wound up doing consulting work for the Houston bar, for the Dallas bar, for the State Bar of Texas. The Philadelphia bar loaned me out on numerous occasions, so I had numerous occasions to go to Texas. And this is what I think we both know about Texans, Paul. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm interested.
If Texans like you, they really, really, really like you.
Yep.
And if Texans don't like you, watch out.
So it's funny that you say that, because I say this to everybody and they think I'm nuts. But New Jersey and Texas actually has a tremendous amount in common. They are both states where they are super proud to be from that state. Right. The people are generally big personalities. And exactly like you said, if they welcome you in, you're in. If they don't like you, you're out.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you why. I don't know. I mean, I'm an Italian-American kid who grew up on the streets of Camden. Okay. The closest I ever got to the wild, wild West is when one day, I don't think you remember this, but some people are old enough to remember this. A guy used to come around on a pony, and he would dress you as a cowboy, and you would sit on the pony, and they would take a picture in front of your house. And
that's great. That's great.
I still have that picture, by the way. That and like Hopalong Cassidy and Roy Rogers and all of that was the closest I ever came to Texas or to being a Texan. But I went to Texas. The people really, really, they liked me. They took to me, and that's, I don't know. And I got a genuine hat, cowboy hat.
Nice. I got one.
That was, I think it's called Resisto or Resilio.
Resistol.
It's made down there.
Keeps the rain off of it.
Yes, it does. Made of genuine beaver belly. Okay.
Nice. That's a solid one. Those are expensive hats.
And I wore that hat to both Bush inaugural balls.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
George W. Bush. I think it was George W. Bush. Yeah.
So you touched on your Italian-American roots, where we got to talk about our shared Italian-American history. Everybody looks at me. I don't look Italian. I don't have the cool Italian last name. Everybody assumes that I'm just pure like Slovak or Czechoslovakian, but I've got a good chunk of Italian in me too.
Paul, I don't know. Your name, to your credit, your name does end in a vowel, and that bodes well for you as we're going into the Jack Ciattarelli administration. We hope, knock on
It
wood.
does. Oh, I hope so.
But
Last name, my mom's maiden name, if you go back before they started chopping letters off, was Giliberto, and they were from
ah,
Sambuca di Sicilia in Sicily.
oh, that I like.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
see, I knew there was a reason why I liked this guy. See, I knew there was some simpatico there. There was a definite
Yep, yep,
connection
yep.
right from the start. But but you are a citizen of the world. I mean, you've traveled right. I saw you just took your son, this little baby. How old is he now?
He's 8 weeks old now. He was 6 weeks old, and we took him to Oktoberfest in Munich, in Germany.
Oh my God! I cannot believe you did that. I can't believe you.
Hey, look, we asked the doctor, we were straight with the doctor. We were like, when is it safe to travel with a kid? He said, you can't travel the first 6 weeks or so unless you're driving. So we took him to a TCU football game, Texas Christian University, my Horned Frogs, and he handled that well. So we put him on a plane. We went over to Oktoberfest. He slept the whole time. We brought him in a beer tent or two. He chilled out and looked all around, and he was a perfect little gentleman the whole time.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. You're breaking this kid in early, and you fully intend for him to be a world traveler.
Yeah, we don't want him to be that kid screaming and crying on the plane, so we figure we'll acclimate him now.
Hey, put him right in there and get him used to it. It's like they say, if you want your kids to behave in a restaurant, start taking them out when you go out to eat.
Right, exactly.
And let them understand how you're supposed to behave.
You got it.
I wanted to ask you, what's the biggest? I have a suspicion this is a guy that strikes me, folks, as very goal oriented. He can be, I'm guessing, because he's very passionate about the things he believes in and what he wants to get done. So he can be, I'm guessing, impatient. What's been the biggest challenge since you've been elected to the state assembly?
Look, I mean, the obvious thing is that we're in the super minority, right? But I really did go in there with my eyes wide open and appropriate expectations, right? When you're a mayor, even mayor of Point Pleasant Beach, small little 1.5 square mile town, you chart the agenda, right? As long as you have the votes on the council, you can go in any direction you want. We cracked down on crime in Point Pleasant Beach. We fought off pop-up parties in Point Pleasant Beach, public drinking, public marijuana usage. We fought the offshore wind turbines. We did all that. But I really charted the course. Going into the assembly, if you're going in there thinking that you're going to run the show, you're going to be sadly mistaken. But to be honest, it's not that bad of a deal. There's as much value. And I go to a lot of these conservative and state legislator academies and groups and conventions. I'm class president of this year's GOPAC group for emerging Republican leaders. I went to the state legislative leadership forum. I did all this stuff.
By the way, they only take one person. They take one from each state, or they only took one from New Jersey.
Yeah, they only take 35 from around the country, one from usually every state.
To go to this GOPAC national conference. I'm not at all surprised that he was elected president or whatever. But go ahead.
I fought for that. But so look, some of these places, it's all about what legislation you can pass. And I get that. If you're in Texas or you're in Arkansas or you're in Oklahoma, you can pass a lot, and that helps conservative causes, and it moves the country in a great moral direction. I get all that. But just as importantly, in New Jersey, stopping crazy crap from happening is just as important. Shining a light on all the craziness is just as important, because the average person doesn't know what an assemblyman is. They don't know what's going on in the state capitol, and they certainly don't know all the different machinations of government. So I'll give you a perfect example. When Governor Murphy tried to nominate that absolute lunatic for the State Board of Education, who had said abhorrent things about basically straight white males and everybody else, She
Right.
was going to go in there with a massive DEI agenda. Nobody was looking at it. We sounded the alarm. We really, really raised the stink about it, and we got her nomination stopped. And when they did that crazy bill about school librarians having no repercussions for whatever they show your kids, even if it's porno, we raised the flag and we yelled and we screamed about that. And they scaled it back a little bit. Not a lot, but they scaled it back a little bit. And every time I jump up and my colleagues jump up and we say something, we make it a little bit harder for them to get all this nasty agenda through. So I like it. I know I shouldn't like it, but I like it.
And you are able to get some things done. Now that is being in quite a significant minority. Imagine everybody, if the Republicans got a majority in the lower house, the state assembly, which, by the way, every single assembly seat is up for re-election this year, along with the governor. Imagine if they captured the state assembly, what they could accomplish. And what are the chances of that happening, Paul?
Look, we need 13 seats, okay? We need 13 seats. And to me, that's a little bit of a stretch. But again, how galvanized and mobilized is the population? Based on trends, in terms of registered voters, 3 in 5 people in New Jersey that are registered voters are not going to vote in this election, right? That's abhorrent to me. 300,000 more people voted in the presidential election than in the last gubernatorial election, right? If we can get those people out, the sky's the limit for common sense and for fighting back all of this craziness. I do think we're going to probably take a minimum of 5 seats, the way that Jack is doing and the incredible job that he's doing out there. I think we easily could take 7 or 9 seats, maybe even, get close there. It's a tall order, but if everybody shows up to vote, and there's interesting districts. I mean, I know you're a political nerd. I'm a political nerd too. But there's interesting districts like 36 and 38, where Jack Ciattarelli actually lost those districts by 4, 5, 6 points, and Trump won them by like 2, 3, 4 points, which is incredible, right? The gains that we're making with Black and Hispanic men in some of the urban areas is really, really encouraging to me.
Right.
And Jack has been putting the work in, right? I mean, Jack has been in Patterson. Jack's been in Newark. He's been in Camden. And he isn't just showing up now because it's election season. He's been there for the last 4 years, and before that, he has real relationships with the leaders in those communities. He's rolled up his sleeves and he's helped them out quite a bit. And if they see that, and if they actually turn out to vote, I mean, we got a chance. We got a chance, Dan.
It's very, very exciting. And Jack is a dynamic leader. I have never seen anybody put in the time. I've never seen anybody work harder on a campaign, in a campaign. I've never seen anybody exceed his steadfastness and ability at what we call retail politics. And that is the down on the ground, face to face, person to person sort of politics that you really don't see as much anymore. His opponent is running a rather detached campaign. She isn't even from New Jersey. I think she's a total fish out of water in this situation. And Jack, if you could name a town in New Jersey, he can not only tell you, he can tell you what county it's in, he can tell you what district it's in, he can tell you the names of the neighboring towns, okay? And he could show you exactly where it is. And then when he gets there, he probably knows 4 or 5 people or more there by their first name. Okay, This is not Ciattarelli. This is the kind of governor you would get if you elected Jack Ciattarelli. So, if there was a crisis or a natural disaster in Tenafly or somewhere, or Teaneck, or Trenton, Trenton, everybody would know, but some godforsaken little town, he would know exactly. You wouldn't have to tell him how to get there. He would know. Okay.
Right. And he'd be there.
Now, you had a great video that you did, and you were actually in Washington because you had an invitation to go to Washington frequently. And this was about Mikey. I don't know why the hell she calls herself Mikey, but Mikey Sherrill, and this whole controversy over why she wasn't allowed to walk at her graduation from the Naval Academy. And you made such a clear, and you explained it so clearly, Paul, distinction. Tell us about it.
Well, look, I mean, when you decide to jump into politics, you're under a microscope. You're under a microscope. You better not have any skeletons in your closet. And if you do, you better have a great explanation for them. And you better not have anything to hide either, right? So here is Mikey Sherrill, who has missed about 50% of her votes, roll call votes, since being in Congress. She's missed almost 90% of the votes this year, the roll call votes, okay? And she's dodging Chitterelli left and right because she knows she can't hang with him. And now the story breaks, and we got some solid reporting out of New Jersey, which is rare, to be honest. I hear stories back 20, 30 years ago. We used to have 40 state house and state government reporters. Now we probably have one or two. They had like a whole floor up there. But we got some great investigative reporting. They had her cornered, dead to rights. They told her, hey, we know you didn't graduate with your class. We know it was for disciplinary reasons. We don't know what the disciplinary reasons are. So we want to ask you, why did you not graduate with your class? And can you produce your records to back it up, your pre-graduation records, right? And, she's so slimy that she told the reporter, I'll get back to you in a couple of days. She gave him a deadline. I think it was Friday or something like that. Don't hold me to that. But whatever the deadline was, she went behind the scenes with her staff. They took these post-graduation records, which had nothing to do with the disciplinary action, and they brought the post-graduation records to CBS News so that they could say, oh, look, these records here got released with some personal information on it, and they changed and made the whole story all about that. And if we really want to get in the weeds, the actual FOIA request, even for those stupid post-graduation records, said clearly on the FOIA request, redact all personal information. So some bureaucrat in DC or some bureaucrat at the Naval Academy just screwed up and put a little personal information on there. Right. And then she had the whole country talking about it like it was a big scandal. And nobody's talking about the pre-graduation records, which is where the real story is, which is where we'll know if she actually did anything abhorrent or if she was just covering for the students, as she says. And it's pretty simple. If she was just covering for the students and just didn't want to rat anybody out, release the frickin' records. Everybody will see that. You'll be validated and you'll be able to stick it to everybody, Mikey Sherrill. Right. But why won't she release them? You don't release them when you got something to hide, right, Dan?
All I can tell you is this, Paul. I raised two kids. They graduated high school, college, and had postgraduate degrees. Both of them, thank God.
Good job.
If either one of them, I want to go to their graduation, right? And the kid said to me, "Oh, Dad, by the way, I'm not going to be at the graduation." I said, "Wait, you're not going to be at the graduation? I'm going to your graduation right now." No, I don't think you can. Well, what's wrong? Well, I'm not allowed to walk. I'm not allowed to walk with everybody else and receive my diploma. My immediate reaction would be, oh my God, what the hell did you do?
Right.
Because it seems to me that there's a reason, and it's a pretty damn serious reason, if you're not allowed to walk at your graduation. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. If this happened to your kid, you would want to know. You would be like, "What the hell? What's going on here? What did you do?"
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And now
She must think everybody's stupid. She must think everybody's stupid. Legitimately, she must think everybody's stupid.
I well, as you know, Paul, because I believe that you studied, in addition to studying political science, you also studied media and communication, and you seem to be
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
savvy at that.
Thank
Uh,
you.
you know that we don't have adequate media here in New Jersey. We don't really have a statewide newspaper. We don't really have a statewide radio station. We don't have a statewide TV station. We're bifurcated between two huge media markets that serve other areas and only consider New Jersey, if they ever do, as an afterthought. It's
Right.
like an afterthought. For the Philadelphia media, let me give you an example. South Jersey is just, well, it's the shore, and that's it. So
Right.
there's Philadelphia, and there's down the shore, what they call down the shore. It's all one word, down the shore. That's they regard that as their own private little playground. And South Jersey is just something that you pass through to go down the shore. And that's it. And they have no other awareness or concern for it other than that. New York, I'm sure it's, when you're in New York, what the hell else? You know what New Yorkers say: when you leave New York, you ain't going nowhere. What the hell else?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here
And look,
we
and I know reporters at two different stations in our media market. I won't say who, that are pretty conservative. They don't let it be known.
right.
And I know for a fact that they've brought multiple stories to their editors and producers, who squash them all the time. Anytime something's breaking that's conservative leaning or paints the Democrats in a bad light, those stories are killed. I mean, I know that for a fact. Those stories
Right.
never see the light of
Right.
day. They're killed. They're not allowed to report on it. And even, as a former mayor and as somebody who gets reported on, fairly often, if you put in a quantifiable fact that highlights how the Murphy administration has done something wrong, or how something else equated to or related to some problem happening, it's cut from what you said.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just reality.
I can say, after a lifetime of dealing with the media as a public relations practitioner, you are absolutely right. When I dealt with the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News, they were owned by the same company. And in those days, the Philadelphia Inquirer had won numerous Pulitzer Prizes. They were one of the top 10 newspapers in the country. They had, of course, a slew of reporters, scores of them. I could probably count on one hand the number of reporters, editors, whatever, at both papers who might have been sympathetic to the conservative viewpoint.
Yep. That's pretty accurate, probably.
5 or less, it was it's even more overwhelming now, even though there's hardly anybody left at those publications.
I know.
Even more overwhelming among the few that are there. It's probably like 99, 100%. But Paul, now who are your heroes, Paul?
Oh, well, that's a very, very good question, and I'll be honest, it's more personal than anything else. My grandparents are definitely my heroes. My Italian grandparents. My mom had epilepsy when I was growing up, and my folks were divorced, and my grandparents took me in sixth grade when they didn't need to. And I was a piece of work, not a bad kid, but just a ball of energy, as you can tell right now. Always just doing too much, talking too much, whatever, going in a million miles a minute. And they took me in, and they raised me from sixth grade on. Even when I graduated college, I did the whole thing that everybody does. I went home for a year and a half or so, and they took me in again. And I know for a fact I wouldn't be where I am today without them. Because especially even when you're younger, you're selfish, right? You think about yourself and your own needs and everything like that, and you're not necessarily thinking about everybody else all the time. But even in sixth grade, I knew what a big deal it was that they were taking me in, and that I didn't want to upset the apple cart or do anything like that. So, things went in a really, really positive direction, and they had my back, all along. Where my grandfather was a brick shithouse. He was a tough Italian guy, but on the flip side, he always was the type of guy who would tell you how proud he was of you and how much he loved you and everything like that. And it was a really interesting dichotomy, and it stuck with me. And my grandmother was just, the typical gregarious, loving, squishy Italian woman, right? And she was so empathetic when I needed that, and yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because I don't always get the opportunity to talk about them, and it's nice to do that. They made it until the night I won my primary for mayor, when I ran against the sitting Republican mayor in Point Pleasant Beach. I won the primary.
Wow.
They were there, and then things went downhill pretty quickly, and they were gone a couple months later. But they got to see the beginning of it, and they were super proud, and they knew that it was all because of them. And it's a big deal to me.
That is a beautiful, beautiful story. It's a wonderful story. Now, when you were relatively young, you had this experience working in Washington, working for Congress people and so forth, and you started this lobbying firm. How did that happen?
So, interestingly enough, I ran for office when I was 21 or 22 years old. Okay, I came back to Point Pleasant, Beach,
Yeah, go ahead.
and I ran against the only two Democrats that had been on the council for like 16 years. And I was straight out of Central Casting. I had like 4-button suits. I had this horrible goatee. And I ran, and I lost by like 90 votes or something like that. And I was absolutely crushed. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to make this my career, politics and government relations. And when the time's right, and I'm ready, years down the road, I'm going to be unstoppable, was the way that I looked at it. So I paid my dues, and I wound up doing everything from working for Native American reservations. I worked with Washoe, Paiute, and Shoshone tribes out in Nevada. I worked on security and locksmith issues for nonprofit associations. I worked for Carfax, the vehicle history company. And all along the way, I saw how expensive lobbying was. And to me, that meant access to the government, right? Because what is lobbying? Lobbying is being able to go to your legislators and try and explain your point of view and have them vote accordingly, right? And the average person doesn't understand the process enough to be able to make a difference. And there's a barrier to entry with cost and everything along those lines. And I didn't like that. So I decided to start my own firm, with the understanding being that I was going to take every negative in the lobbying industry and turn them into positives. So, we wound up having set pricing. Nobody had set pricing. We had clear tier levels that showed exactly what you got. Our setup and our pricing is like a third or a quarter of what, these traditional big law firms charge. And I wound up going after all the little mom and pop companies and small associations, that couldn't afford to have a voice. And it took root, and we were on the front page of the Washington Post, and CBS television came in and filmed a pilot project. They were going to have a sitcom documentary about us. They did a 8-minute documentary pilot project on us. Unfortunately, didn't get picked up. Voice of America came in. They followed us around for a couple of weeks, and they beamed into China what access to democracy looks like. We've won a ton of awards, and we're kind of like the the good actors in the space. And I'm proud of the work that I get to do, to be honest, at the federal level. I drive down to DC every Tuesday night. I'm there Wednesday. I usually come back Wednesday night.
Well, this is just and how old were you when you started that?
I was 29 years old, and I maxed out every credit card that I had. I borrowed $5,000 from my grandfather, and I almost cried when I borrowed the money because I needed it to take it back. I paid him back 6 months later, by the way. I had every credit card maxed out. I was all in on this thing, and it needed to work, and it took off. It took off like a rocket ship, and we're still going here now. 14 years later. So
You're definitely a risk taker.
I like to go all in.
And you have an adventuresome spirit. You went to Ukraine and you went to Gaza. I mean, tell us about that as briefly as you can.
Sure. Look, I think we can all learn a lot from what's going on in different corners of the globe, right? And for me, even right now, do I think we should be throwing gazillions of dollars at Ukraine and have an endless war? I certainly don't. But do I also always try and have empathy? And I think Republicans, we get hammered a lot of times because we don't have enough empathy, and we're so black and white and right and wrong and everything like that. And for me, I saw the refugees, I saw the kids and the moms coming across the border, and I went to my wife at 3 a.m. I woke her up, and I said, I'm going to go to the Ukraine-Poland border. Are you all right with that? She was like, yeah. Okay. She went back to sleep. And, the next morning I had already booked the ticket and I was talking about it. She barely remembered it. And same with Gaza and Israel, right? Like there were so many lessons to be learned about border security and about lapses in border security and about the relations going back and forth and the abhorrent things, that Hamas is willing to do to people. And I wanted to go and I wanted to see firsthand for myself. And same with the Mexican-U.S. border and any other conflict zone I can get my hands on.
I don't know how you juggle all these things, Paul. Now you have a little baby. But by the way, did your wife know what she was getting into when she got involved with you?
I was very, very upfront. My wife and I had been dating for my wife and I have been dating for a couple weeks, like 3-4 weeks. And I said, I'm going to Southeast Asia for a month and a half. And she told her friends, and they're like, he's never coming back or anything like that. And I was backpacking through Cambodia and Thailand, and we were in South Korea and Japan, and we were all over the place. But I called her every night. I worked up like a $1,000 phone bill. And so she knew. And then 2 months in, I was like, all right, we're going to test this out. We're going on a trip. And I took her to the middle of the Sahara Desert with these Bedouins that had a tent camp out there. And we were hanging out in the middle of the desert and sandboarding. And she knew right then that this was what was going on.
So she was ready for it.
Yeah, she's pretty easygoing on that front. She's not super easygoing in the United States. She eats like very, very regimented things. She only likes like 20 different things. But if I take her to Senegal and they kill a goat in front of her and grill it, she'll eat it. So I don't know. She transforms into a totally different person when we're traveling, Dan.
Yeah, no, I've traveled to a lot of different countries, but I will only eat certain things. And I'm very, very careful. But I say, she's
going to kill me when she sees this.
Yes, no, I say to my wife, I don't want to introduce any new things into my system, any new foods into my system. Good point. At this point in my life, it's a little bit different. I think when you're younger, you can be more adventurous in these kinds of things. But when I'm traveling and I'm not. As much as possible, I don't want to introduce any new. I
get it.
But I was in the Middle East, and we were in. I guess it was in Jordan, and we did have a celebration or something out in the desert under a Bedouin tent, and the Bedouins entertained us.
That's awesome.
We had a meal, but this was part of a travel group.
Okay.
I mean, it was a group travel, with the talc travel. But
How was Petra? Did you like Petra when you were in Jordan? I've never been.
yes,
It's one of the places I want to go. I'm jealous.
I actually rode on a camel in Petra. I was absolutely petrified.
I got to see photos of that.
I was petrified.
But I'm bummed.
I thought, I was saying to myself, oh, Jesus, if I fall off of this, I mean, I can't even imagine if I fall off, what the hell is going to happen. My wife is much more adventurous with these kinds of things than I am. We were just we did the Canadian Rockies. And we did the train through the Canadian Rockies, the bubble top train that goes right through the Rockies. And she actually did what was a very, very mild whitewater rafting. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very mild. I wouldn't go with she. I told her, you go. I'm not getting on that thing. No, that's not happening. But it's just the way it is, But anyway, Paul, this has been we've been on Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's on my YouTube channel. And this is going to go right up on dancerucci.com. After we're done, it'll be up there for quite a while. It's going to go at the top of the Facebook page. You will be able to share it. Okay.
Awesome.
And so it'll be up for a while. And a lot of people will be able to watch it. And we are really in the throes. We didn't spend a lot of time on this, of a really, really exciting political campaign here in New Jersey, and one that really the national media in the entire country are watching this.
Everybody, because they know it has a really good chance of happening, just like you and I do, right? And what does that say for the country? We're always trying to find bigger meaning in some of this and national trends. And the president obviously wants a victory in New Jersey so that he goes into the midterms with a big pelt, around his waist. And I get it. It's right there for the taking, Dan. I mean, I can only imagine how much greater my experience in the assembly is going to be getting to work with Governor Chitterelli if he gets in. And I know a lot of my colleagues in the assembly will go and fill out administration positions and make big changes in some of our horrible state agencies that are run in bloated, inefficient fashion. It's just right there. We got to get everybody out to vote. I mean, that's the key.
And Paul, that the governor of New Jersey is extremely powerful. New Jersey, probably under the New Jersey Constitution, has one of the most powerful, or the most powerful governors in the country. So much power under the state constitution is ceded to the governor, and the governor has so many appointments. It's really, really staggering.
Yep.
And I gotta believe, Paul, as well as you and I know politics and the people involved in it, that a lot of people that we know are salivating for some of those positions.
Yep. Don't count me as one of them. I love what I'm doing. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, but
but yes, and I know I have colleagues that are extremely proficient in education and in energy issues and in manufacturing, and they would make great appointees.
Yeah.
They would be wonderful at that. I just love the fight too much. I'm not giving up the fight.
They will bring a lot to the table, and there will be people that are not involved in politics. I'm sure that Jack will, if he's elected, will call upon from the world of business and commerce and so forth. He has such a network, and he knows so many people. He's so familiar with New Jersey. This is why I'm saying again, folks, I mailed in my mail-in ballot today. I filled it out and mailed it in. Okay.
Oh, mine's sitting on my, good point. Mine is literally, I can see it through my window in there. I got to get mine in.
Okay. And I'm saying but particularly to all Republicans, for God's sake, if you've got a mail-in ballot, send it in. Send it in. Once the early voting opens, as soon as it opens, I think it's going to open very soon, the early voting. What's that open, about 2 weeks before the election or something?
Yeah, about 14 days. I should
Okay.
know this.
And when the early voting opens, if you still haven't voted, go and vote on the machine early. Okay. Let's get right now the Republican early voting by mail is running ahead of previous years. And we want to keep it that way. Okay. So that we go into election day with a little bit of advantage going in. Remember the last time Jack only lost by a small number of votes. It was very, very, very close.
Yeah.
I remember the last election, Paul, and I don't know, I'm sure you saw this also. We knew that Jack was so close, but the national media was all focused on Virginia. And we didn't get any attention from the national media. We didn't get any money from the National Republican Party or anything. Had we gotten that attention and that money, Jack would be governor today. He'd be running for
We're getting
re-election.
it now. We're getting it now.
We are getting it now.
And you know what? And maybe this will wind up being a good thing, almost the same way that Trump not winning wound up to have some silver lining, because I think the country needed to see how bad things could get and how extreme the Democrats could be. And look, Jack wins now. Maybe he'll get another term. I think that the country, the state will see, how good a job he's doing and how much we're going to prosper under Republican leadership. And then we get 8 years to undo all the craziness that the Democrats caused and to chart a new course.
And goodness knows it will take that long. Well, there you go, 52 minutes, Paul. It's been a wonderful 52 minutes, as always.
Likewise, Dan. I consider you a good friend. I'm glad we got a chance to just chat. It feels like just you and I hanging out and talking, but I guess hundreds or thousands of people are going to see this.
I certainly hope so. And this is going up, like I say, at dancerucci.com. It'll be on my Facebook page, on LinkedIn, and on my YouTube channel, where it is live right now. So that's how a lot of people see it. Thanks so much, Paul. It's been great.
I'll see you soon, Deb.
Bye.
Thank you.